Hey guys, what's up? Shadowlance back from the commentary today. I wanted to go over the psychology of good typing today. I'm not talking about verbal communication or even written communication. I'm talking about the most popular form of getting in touch with somebody that we have today, whether it's Facebook or texting on a phone or even typing on a game using a friend messenger like Combat Arms or Clan Chat or whatever. I wanted to go over what we think about when we see text, whether we're consciously realizing that or not. So without any further ado, let's dive right in. People treat direct confrontation as a hostile form of communications. Signals like eye contact, tone of voice, and strength behind spoken words and body language can alter the course of a conversation without changing the form of communication. However, as with spoken words, other forms of communications like texting, handwriting, and especially hand-typed posts on social media sites and blogs have etiquette that change the style of the conversation. And that etiquette kind of comes from whichever source it is. Facebook has a different etiquette than Combat Arms typing, so if you guys hadn't thought about that. Even Soldier Front 2, people have their own ideas behind that. Any game you play, any way you communicate online, people are going to have different etiquette for that, and oftentimes new players won't be able to respect that because they don't know what it's about. Most commonly, text messages contain mutilated forms of words in order to convey ideas quickly and efficiently, as opposed to typing every necessary letter, syllable, vowel, whatever. The chopping apart of words and sentences is useful, but it destroys the eloquence of language. Many times messages can become unclear or too concise to convey the correct message. This can lead to several issues involving miscommunication, but primarily creates a larger problem in modern technology uses. Text typing trends tend to overflow outside of its intended domain on your cell phone. It is important to be cohesive and intelligent. I can't really say that more honestly. Being intelligent and cohesive in your speech is very important. More and more frequently, Facebook and other social media sites have become infested with lulls and LMAOs. While the general concept of making the message concise, it's important in private texting in any way. This is not the case with public posts for the world to see. To employers, coworkers, and friends of the person posting, this just seems like poor etiquette and makes you seem kind of less intelligent, to be honest. Not only is it terrible mannerisms, but it also leads to the audience to doubt the intelligence of the person posting the information. Like I said, it makes you seem less intelligent. That's just part of the psychology. If one were to read the works posted online by professional authors, they carry themselves with the air of intelligence and high-profile attitude. There are several factors to the sense readers kind of obtain from the professionally written work, but also several indicators that those factors are present in the first place. It's a bunch of things you have to look for when you see, oh, this guy's professional, I see what he's doing. So what makes something professional and what makes something not professional? First of all, clarity is the most important part of information, relaying information, whatever you want to call it, of any sort. Clarity is important. Whether you are hashtag checking in or checking in at your hotel for an evening stay at the Hilton. Often text typing interferes with the ability to comprehend the presented information. Young social media users often make posts or even talk to other people as if they are texting. Not only is this practice difficult to comprehend, but it's obnoxious as well as downright embarrassing. From personal experience, very little is more frustrating when having a professional conversation with somebody, a personal conversation at that, and they respond with short, impersonal, unclear messages that make you question whether they can read the message you sent them or not. By responding with unclear messages, the person conveys a lack of interest in your time, which is very valuable, and if you ask me, there's no greater insult than wasting someone's time. That's a personal opinion, but it's something to think about. In order to create a subtle but powerful sense of authority in a conversation, it's important to be personal but not necessarily formal, with every conversation, no matter how small. Treat every conversation as if the person on the other end is someone to impress, because they are. Proper capitalization, punctuation, grammar, and spelling are simple steps that, even if used alone, are more effective than being in person sometimes. It's pretty easy to come off more impressive on paper than it is, in person sometimes for some people. While it may be difficult to come across in a domineering way in person if you lack the physique to do so, like physically, in writing it can be accomplished with a few simple alterations to everyday Facebook posts. However, it is important to remember that your messages are clear and concise, as previously mentioned. Lacking in one department does not make up for another. Also, a highly important skill in communication of any sort is to not betray emotion too easily. Among the myriad of LOLs and LMAOs, the emotion and feeling behind the origins of those acronyms have been lost entirely. When someone types LOL, they're not really laughing, they're just typing something stupid with the same placid look on their face. It's better to explain how you are feeling rather than an impersonal cliché acronym. Not only is it more clear, but it conveys a sense that you actually care about the person in the conversation and appreciate their time. Even if the topic is argumentative and you're actually having a good argument with somebody, or you're just, feeding a troll, readers are more likely to take a well-written, LOL-free post more seriously than if the text is full of acronyms and full of words comprising it like that. Evoking emotion, in my opinion, is writing on one subject. If you're writing for emotion, you're writing for that purpose. You want to draw that emotion. But conveying emotion as the author is another. It's one thing to draw out emotion. That's okay, and actually a lot of writers go for that, but to convey the author's emotion is something that needs to be avoided in a professional conversation. While it's easy to stir up emotion with a simple controversial topic, it's important to illustrate the emotion of the writer only when absolutely necessary. If the feeling of the writer is hard to come by, it's more powerful when you do come by it. The simple boy who cried wolf concept is very evident here, where if emotion is called upon too readily, it loses its effect over time. In contrast, a single well-placed sentence can create a more powerful atmosphere than overflowing emotion can muster. So it's better to have a whole paragraph of description and then one really clear, concise thing that kind of draws everything together. That can be far more powerful than just saying, lol, LMAO, I laughed so hard at that I'm crying, blah, 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 blah. It just makes you seem like a little bit of a retard. Most importantly is to know how to deal with others who do not follow the above guidelines, like everyone who doesn't go by the whole etiquette stuff. Any etiquette from anywhere, if they don't follow the etiquette of the area where you're typing and communicating, the forum, wherever you are, even in the face of a highly unorthodox typist, it's more important to maintain a higher level of intelligence. The flow of the conversation always belongs to the person with a more dignified speech. They control the flow, it's theirs, and if that's you, then you can make the conversation go wherever you want. It's not important to scatter large, impressive-sounding words throughout each sentence, but rather to use each word meaningfully and correctly. A large vocabulary used incorrectly is far less impressive, if not completely embarrassing, than a compilation of short, well-chosen words that convey the thought accurately. Along the same lines, if your audience is among those that are of lesser intelligence, if you want to put it that way, higher vocabulary may be lost completely on ignorant ears. That's not to say, however, that higher vocabulary should not be used. It's simply put forth that keeping the audience in mind is more important. If all parties involved in the conversation are comprehensive enough to follow your word choice, then it may be in your best interest to pepper a speech with a few choice words. Finding the balance between high and low vocabulary, however, is still a matter of practice. It's not something that can be taught. I can't tell you guys how to do that. It's something you got to figure out with the situation you're in, and that's part of speech itself, learning when and when not to speak like that, and when to, have that kind of air around you. Social media generation has sadly lost much of the art of conversation and free speech. However, it's still just as important as ever, if not more so, to remember the etiquette of language and speech. Controlling the flow of conversation as well as maintaining a high level of dignity and intelligent image is important in every conversation, be it formal or informal. Create a strong sense of speech, and you get a high level of respect and authority as the result. And it's incredibly important among leaders, small and large, whether you're leading a clan on combat arms or leading a country. Even Obama, I gotta say, I don't agree with his ideals, but he is a brilliant orator, and the way that he speaks is incredibly inspiring, which is why a lot of people are willing to follow him. Even if I don't agree with his ideas, I at least give him the fact that he's a brilliant speaker. More importantly, however, strong speech skills are a great way to tell an audience that the speaker cares, which is incredibly important. If your audience doesn't feel engaged, you're going to have a very lost audience, and they're not going to want to listen to you over and over, so that's just a good way to think about it. Overall, guys, I know this was a crazy long commentary. It was actually most of a write-up that I did a while back, but I thought you guys might be interested in hearing it. It's something that I just kind of think about on combat arms day to day. It's like, these people really have no idea what they're talking about, so I figured you guys might find this interesting and maybe even relatable. But thank you for watching. Please rate, comment, subscribe, drop your own comments in the box below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Shadowlance out.